Larry, Mike Moore has taken the month of December off. So tonight's episode of More Pain will not be seen, so we can bring our viewers a new episode with Larry Klayman. How are you tonight, Larry?
Very good, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm very concerned about the state of the country and what is going on with the election tally and this recent stuff with William Barr saying there's no evidence. You and I had a conversation about President Trump's appearance with Maria Bartiromo, and I know you've got a lot of concerns. What's on your mind tonight, Larry?
What was really important about this appearance this Sunday with Maria Bartiromo, she's the only one I really watch on Fox. She's a bright woman. She asks questions. She doesn't roll over. She's not Tokyo Rose like Sean Hannity. You know, she is critical in a positive way, as I try to be. And so she had President Trump on, and he basically admitted that he's not going to get justice with regard to this massive election fraud from the courts. He admitted that his Justice Department is worthless and is working against him. And he admitted that Congress also were a bunch of fools, court jesters, and criminals, in effect. His own party is stabbing him in the back, notwithstanding social media and things like that. What the president basically was doing was setting the country up for revolution, not violent revolution, peaceful and legal revolution, like I've maintained should happen in my new book, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry. He's saying there will be no remedy here to this massive fraud through the avenues of government. And sure enough, today, we see that blowhard Bill Barr, I always call him Puxatawny Bill because he runs into his hole like the groundhog in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania. Yeah. He, without any evidence, one way or the other, declares that there's no massive election fraud. He took another dive. And on top of that, to add insult to injury, to protect his own fat self, and I might add, he is overstuffed mentally as well as physically. He then says, well, I assigned John Durham to investigate this matter as special counsel. Well, you know what the problem with that is?
The special counsel has to not be part of the government.
He's done nothing, and special counsel is not going to be there to do anything when Biden takes office and Kamala Harris take office. And if he gives a report to the Biden Justice Department, it goes into the trash. So it's a complete sham. As Woody Allen said, I've used this phrase before, it's a mockery of a travesty of a sham of a mockery of a travesty. And that's what it is. This guy's a disgrace. I hope the president fires him forthwith. The president should appoint an interim attorney general. I'm available. He could appoint others, but he needs to get the job done quickly because he only has a little more than a month and a half in office, not just to bring indictments on this massive election fraud, but also with regard to all the people that have gone scot-free, whether it's Comey, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, the Lovebirds, Bruce Orr, you name it. And of course, this blowhard of an attorney general, Bill Barr, part of the Washington Republican establishment, has declared the Bidens off limits, the Obamas off limits, and the Clintons off limits. This is Washington because it's mutual assured destruction. I can assure you they have more dirt on Bill Barr than you can imagine. He doesn't want any blowback. He wants to go back to his private practice. He wants to make money. He wants to go to the cocktail parties. And that's where we are today. But what is really inexplicable, regrettably it is explicable, is the president doesn't take action. He's paralyzed. And I think that he may fear that a Biden Justice Department will indict him for some phony charge. And he may fear that the fallout from Bill Barr quitting, which he in fact set himself up to do today, will do him in other respects. So the president needs to step up to the plate. He has the power in his hands. He can freeze things. He can declare martial law. He can say, now I'm going to lay all this evidence out on the table. Lay it out not with someone like Giuliani, who's over the hill and has had one too many martinis, or somebody like Jenna Ellis, who's not ready for prime time, and start picking people who actually are experts, who are excellent lawyers, who are excellent advocates, not people that you see on Fox News on Sean Hannity. I mean, he takes his advice from Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity's got the equivalent of a ninth grade education, and the president's a lot smarter than Sean Hannity. So you better start taking advice from the right people. And I would very much like to talk to the president. I've never had that opportunity. I believe that Roger Stone has poisoned the well with the president. I've had to sue him. He defamed Jerry Corsi and me. And long before that, he did as well. He knows what he did with regard to my campaign when he was, for a short period, when I ran for the Senate, a campaign manager and all kinds of other things. But the president needs, I think, to hear from me, because I think I can straighten him out and I can get him to do what he needs to do. He's got nothing left to lose. As you know, the song written by Chris Christopherson and sung by Janis Joplin when I was a kid, Bobby McGee, nothing ain't worth nothing. Freedom ain't worth nothing, but it's to lose. In other words, freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. And that's
right.
where it is right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, Larry, let's elaborate on this for a second, because you raise an interesting point. I mean, you and I have spoken in the past. We've been very outspoken about disliking the appointment of Bill Barr from the day it was mentioned. I mean, during the confirmation hearing, we were talking about his time. He said in the confirmation hearing that he was outside counsel to the CIA. That's fancy legal speak for he was the lawyer for the CIA. During Iran-Contra, many times we've looked at this photograph of William Barr hanging out with Joe Biden. I forget who this third guy is, but this is Iran-Contra days right here, and Joe Biden seems quite happy. We discussed the concept of you being... Sorry, real quick.
It's one giant cluster, you know what? I won't say it in Washington, D.C. Circle jerk.
The point I want to get to, Larry, is when we discussed previously this notion of you being appointed Attorney General, you basically said yourself that you're way too hot potato, would never get confirmed by the Senate, but you could be the perfect choice for an interim interim AG right now.
Yes,
going there, you'd be like the juggernaut, taking all this flak, bombs coming at you. You would power through there, indict all these losers, and by the time they got around to finding the permanent Attorney General, your work could be done.
Well, that's right. And the president needs to swing for the fences right now. And that's what he was saying. He says, I've been betrayed and abandoned by my Justice Department. The judges on the federal bench and in the state court are compromised and corrupt. They're establishment people. How did federal judges get to be federal judges? Through political campaign contributions and other gratuities and perks, which we call legal in our system. Any other system, they wouldn't be legal. In Italy, it's much more honest. You just put money into an envelope and hand it across the table, right? So they call it a bustarello. And in our country, we have all these elaborate schemes to bribe people. So these judges are bought and paid for. They're yes men and women, just like the judges under King James III. But you know what? We live in a time which is much more serious than King James III. King George III. King George III was not a communist, okay? You know, what we've got ready to enter government right now with this fraud that's been perpetrated are communist, socialist, radicals of every stripe. And they're going to destroy this country. They're going to pull it apart. They're going to conduct a purge against anybody that opposes them. And that may be what the president's afraid of, him and his family. And Giuliani himself, it was reported today, has asked the president to pardon him. He's worried about getting...
That was rumored. I don't know that we've actually... I'm reluctant to believe some of that stuff because there's just all these places where they're injecting stories and then people don't know what's true or not.
Well, it makes logical sense that Giuliani would ask for an indictment. He's under criminal investigation in New York State. And in a Biden Justice Department, they're going to try to eliminate anyone that could possibly oppose them. It's going to be like an inquisition. It's going to be what happened after the Bolshevik Revolution or after the Iranian Revolution when the Ayatollahs eliminated their opposition. That's what it's going to be like.
Wow.
And Jason, what we've got here are radicals of all sorts. We've got radical Muslims. We got radical Marxists of the Jewish left. And I'm Jewish myself, and you know I can say that and say it honestly. We've got radical feminists. We've got radical LGBTQ. We've got radical atheists. We've got radical blacks. Every radical is now banding together. They're going to enter into this administration. I don't believe that Biden will last 6 months. I mean, look, the guy just fractured his leg, and they probably understated it. in 3 places just playing with his dog. And one day he's not going to wake up. They're going to give him something. And Kamala Harris will be in charge. And then all these people are going to infiltrate the administration. And it's going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. So it's logical that Giuliani would ask for a pardon. Hannity's even telling the president to pardon himself. And frankly,
That's
that may be the
ridiculous.
one thing I agree with that Hannity
But can
said.
you do that? Is that legal?
Yeah, he can do it.
But how can you pardon somebody if they haven't done a specific crime?
You can pardon someone in advance. Yes, you can. Yes, it's established. Yeah.
That's crazy. I guess Gerald Ford did that kind of to Nixon, right?
You're right. You're right. It wasn't proven that Nixon had committed a crime. It wasn't proven. So these people see this, you see, and Barr sees this, and he thinks the left is going to go after him now. So he throws the president under the bus. He is more despicable than even Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions was pathetic. Jeff Sessions was caught up in wiretaps, the Trump Tower and everything else. But Jeff Sessions was a clown compared to this guy who's a professional, corrupt fool, Bill Barr.
The problem is I think he's not a fool. I think he's extremely adept, but I agree with you, he's corrupt. He's an expert at lawfare. And I think what he's done today by appointing Durham as a special counsel is another one of these maneuvers that the people who love the 17th letter of the alphabet and think that everything is part of a fantastic plan that can't fail. This keeps those people satisfied thinking that Barr is doing something when in fact somebody on Twitter, they quoted the statute about special counsel. You can't select someone from within the government to hold that role. So because he was a U.S. attorney or is a U.S. attorney, right?
Is a U.S. attorney.
So he can't be a special counsel.
It's a ruse. It's a subterfuge. And how does the special counsel law work? He gives a confidential report to the attorney general. Now, who will be the attorney general if Biden becomes president? Probably Stacey Abrams. That's who they're now pushing. Okay, he's got to return the favor to the black community. And they're making demands that they want Stacey Abrams as attorney general. This will be worse than Loretta Lynch, believe me. And under those circumstances, any report that Durham gives, which frankly he's given no reports so far, he's brought no indictments, it'll be thrown into the trash by Biden's attorney general. And no one will even know what was done. And then you've got the leftist media that'll cover for everybody, and they're all off scot-free. But who is not off scot-free are conservatives that challenge this administration, libertarians, people of faith, and others who are not going to go along with the plan, with the agenda. And when that happens, then they're going to come after all of us. Now, I'll fight back. They'll come back with every government agency that they can. And you see what happens to you, Jason, and others who try to tell the truth that are out there, how they ban you from social media. They're colluding with the social media, and they'll cover for them. The New York Times, Washington Post, Huffington Post, Rolling Stone, they'll all cover for this president. And this country will be dismantled because these radical leftists believe that they're entitled to reparations, not just radical blacks, but radicals of every stripe. It's time for us to have our piece of the pie. We got to take the country apart. There'll be nothing left. And they're going to be on your lawn, demanding the keys to your house and your car. And if you don't give it to them, they'll harm you and your family. So thank God we have a Second Amendment. Thank God we can defend ourselves. But this is the state of the nation right now. It is serious. And if you listen to my podcasts that you can find at freedomwatchusa.org and americassheriff.org and read my book, you'll see we are in a revolution. And that's what the president was saying to Maria Bartiromo. There is no government. We have no democracy. And then you have these clowns like Frank Lutz, who I call Frank Putz, who comes along, this Republican establishment pollster lives in a giant house, in Los Angeles, making all kinds of money at the trough. And he says the president is subverting democracy. And I say, what democracy is there to subvert? We have no democracy anymore. We have no government anymore. They represent themselves, not the American people. So, the president
is him, right? This is Lutz, right?
Yeah, he's lost a little weight lately. I guess, maybe he wants in movies or something. But he is He's symptomatic of the Republican establishment, fat and happy, so to speak, financially and otherwise. And the president is calling for revolution. He is 100% directly on what I'm saying in my book. He doesn't want a violent one, but he wants the people to rise up and demand action. And as Jefferson said, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. When the government fears the people, there's liberty. Government needs to fear the people, because it won't be Larry Klayman that calls for violence. It won't be you, Jason. It won't be the president, but there'll be others out there. And we're at the breaking point right now. I can assure you that if nothing happens, this country is going to explode in short order.
You know, they're already calling for violence, Larry. Out in the street, I'm seeing violence every day. The cops do nothing. There's been violence used against me. You're right that the mainstream media and social media, I mean, it has become so ridiculous. See, they start with something kind of big and obvious, like blocking the New York Post's article about Hunter Biden's laptop. But now we've already become used to it. Donald Trump posts things that say, "I am Donald Trump," and they put a message that says, "Oh, Joe Biden has been already selected as the president." They're just like putting Twitter notes and Instagram notes all over everything the president posts.
That's right. And, what we have here is a massive fraud, but the courts are not willing to deal with it. They don't want to go down what they see as a sinking ship. They know the dynamics, these judges. They're political hacks. They're nearly all political hacks. There's very few in these kinds of cases that'll make a courageous decision. We've seen one so far, and she was overturned by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. But they know that the dynamics of the media, of the leftist media and the mainstream media, Biden was very smart. The devil is very smart, the Democrats. He's naming all of his cabinet members. Foreign leaders are congratulating him on being president. He's creating a fait accompli. That's French for established fact, okay? And no one's going to go up against that. Nobody who has courage in the government, and Bill Barr is the latest example, are going to challenge that. And he's the attorney general.
Why is the president not firing him and hiring any person to fill that role?
We have to ask the president that. I think the president's been so damaged and shell-shocked, despite, his bravado, that he's fearful for his family. He's fearful for Ivanka, for Jared, for Don Jr., for Eric, for their wives, because these leftists are vicious. The bottom line is this, Jason. They want us dead. They want us dead. They want us removed from this earth so they can rule. They can reign supreme. And they are the embodiment of the devil.
Anybody who thinks that that is hyperbolic, Larry, is frankly incorrect, because that is exactly what they want. I have multiple parties suing me right now who want to take all my money, want to take this apartment that I live in and leave me homeless, broke, unable to earn a living, and that equals death. So I don't think people fully understand. I mean, what you're saying is absolutely correct. And it's a fair point that if President Trump leaves the White House with a whimper, all of these people in his family could be pursued endlessly by the Department of Justice moving forward into the future.
And will be. Look, the Adam Schiff is a candidate for Attorney General, I'm sure.
Geez,
can you imagine?
That's a good point, but wow, that's scary.
Can you imagine? Okay. And they're going to make sure there'll never be opposition again. The Democrats, as evil as they are, not like the Republicans who are sissies and cowards and who run from a fight, they'll take your head off. And I think the president knows that, and other people know that as well.
Wow. It's really disconcerting, Larry, but frankly, the points that you're raising about this potential endless pursuit of the Trump family, in my view, is just all the more reason for the president to dig in right now. He's got really, literally like seconds remaining. We've been watching as Rudy Giuliani and the rest of the campaign legal team have appeared at state Senate hearings around the country. I'm curious what you think about this. It feels like the mayor is presenting very good evidence, and it seems like a really serious case, but yet it's being ignored. It's being ignored by the Department of Justice. What do you think about these hearings that Giuliani is having?
Well, I think that he needs to the real court that counts right now are not these hack judges. but the court of public opinion. He needs to take everything he's got. Same for Sidney Powell, whatever she may have. Some stuff she has isn't quite worthy. Other stuff she has may be, okay? Like the hammer. I mean, that's so old your cell phone is more
well, right.
advanced.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I see that as a poison pill that's being inserted.
I don't have any information about it. I mean, it was classified. I just know that it's so old that, it's not something which is...
Let me just clarify for people who aren't aware. You previously represented someone we aren't going to speak about. There are things about that you can't discuss because of attorney-client privilege. I don't want to talk specifically about the hammer, but this notion that a piece of evidence has been introduced and is persistently reintroduced, why would she do that? I have personally...
She's grasping at straws. I mean, she's throwing a lot of stuff up there, and I don't blame her for that. But she needs to stay with the real issue. The issue is Dominion, okay? That's the real issue right now, and whatever software they have and others. And she shouldn't go back, 11 years to something which is now obsolete, okay? That's my point. And I never had any access to the hammer or anything like that. But what I'm saying is lay it all out on the table. Lay it all out on the table for the American people to see. And then, President, once they see it, then you take control. Okay, you declare martial law. Okay, because this is a fraudulent election. It's a coup d'etat against your administration and anyone who's in government, however few, that are legitimate, and take control. And if you don't do it now, you got a little bit more than a month and a half, it's going to be too late. And what does he have to lose? Like I said, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Freedom ain't worth nothing, but it's free. That's the refrain. And if he doesn't want to take charge right now, then he's gone. He's history. He should just pack up and go back to Mar-a-Lago and his apartment in New York City. Not that that's a place you want to live anymore.
Yeah, it's getting pretty bleak over here, Larry. I should remind everyone that they can support you and your team at Freedom Watch by going to freedomwatchusa.org and hitting the donate button. People who support Freedom Watch, is it $200, Larry, to get the book?
No, it's if you donate 50, we'll send you the book. Okay.
There you go.
And we'll send you the book. Okay, for more than 50.
There you go.
But this book is really important. I didn't write it to make money. I'm certain I'm not going to make any money off of it. But this is something that was inside of me for so long. I had to say it. I'm taking on my own profession in a much greater way than I ever have. I personally believe the legal profession is the most corrupt profession of any profession in this country. It's a disgrace. Look who occupies Capitol Hill. 90% lawyers up there. Years ago, I almost wrote a book for a publisher. It was called "Let's Kill All the Lawyers." Okay, in those days you could say. Now you can't say that. I was going to say, and lawyers are one of the root problems in this country. They really are, and the judges are too. No, I didn't mean to kill them. Nobody wants to kill them, but that's an expression that Shakespeare used. Let's kill the lawyers. Okay,
oh.
He detested lawyers for a good reason. And our legal system is just so corrupt, and people are seeing that now. And our legal system is, in fact, the government. And whether it's the Justice Department or, District of Columbia Barr that wants to eliminate conservative lawyers, or anybody in and around the nation's capital, they want to destroy you. It's vicious, it's nasty, and this is what we're going to get if the president doesn't stand up right now. Now, the American people need to stand up there with him. Is that he's not the political messiah. We control our own destiny. And as I've been saying over and over again on my podcast, is that God has destroyed many civilizations and started over again. And he's about ready to do it here too. Not just because, of what's happening in this election, but it's a cumulative effort, lack of morality, lack of ethics, lack of respect for him, his son, lack of respect for anything. And if we don't rise up in his image, in what he has taught, Jews and Christians in particular, with some exceptions of some other groups which don't worship the same God, then I think, with this small g I might add, then I believe that God's going to destroy us. And I think this country is going down the drain. I've never, Jason, I pray in the morning mostly and at night. I've always prayed for my family. I've prayed for my friends. I've prayed for my clients. prayed for my dog. I'm starting to pray for the country.
Yeah.
The country, okay? Because the country is in serious jeopardy.
Hasty 360 is reminding us that Trump said, they're not after me, they're after you. But Trump represents us, so they're after all of us.
They are. And if they could intern us in a concentration camp and then gas us or put us in ovens, they would probably do it.
I mean, they're talking about that already, that Trump supporters there's got to be retribution. I mean, we see the people in the streets. Just this Sunday, Charles Ortel and I went over to a demonstration in Washington Square Park that was against the concept of us being locked in our homes, arbitrary edicts coming down from governors as if they were emperors. We're against that. And there were people there fighting us, wanted people to be locked down and forced to wear masks and stay home. And it's hard to believe.
And what's happening, Jason, is that people, just don't want to be left alone. They want to put their head in the sand, particularly white people. The most courageous people out there now are the black conservatives who are speaking out, who are risking their lives, like my client, Dimitri Penny, who risked his life in Dallas. And, I'm for equality. I'm, in fact, a civil rights lawyer. And the black people in this country, by and large, are the most patriotic of the people, the most religious of the people. But you've got this bad group, these radicals that want to change everything. And white people are getting down and saying, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. And those black radicals are being manipulated by white Marxists on the Jewish left, Muslims, everything. And I'm watching TV this evening. I went to pick up some food. There's my alma mater, Duke, okay, out there. Duke has become the Berkeley of the South. Duke has become a total disgrace. I used to be proud of being a graduate of Duke. The jerseys that are being worn now on their backs say equality, equality. Okay, huge letters. Okay, this has permeated every aspect of society. We have to roll over to these radicals so they don't hurt us. Okay, yeah, we're all for equality, but you don't have to shove it in people's faces like that. We know what that means. That's Black Lives Matter. That's what that means. A socialist, Marxist, black separatist ideology.
Will they start putting midgets on the team short people, if they're into equality? I think.
It's unreal. And, Duke, which, is up there with the Ivy League schools in terms of academic excellence and integrity at one time, is destroying its integrity. Coach K, Krzyzewski, is doing that. He wants to win a championship every year, particularly before he retires. They bring in people that have no interest in ever graduating, one and done, okay, for 1 year. They don't represent the student body. They're spending money that could be used for less advantaged people, right? And they just jump to the NBA. This is a bastardization of Duke University and any university that does this. If they want to go, when I was at Duke in 1969 and 1963, the basketball players graduated. They went to class. They were pretty smart people, right? And we felt they were one of us, okay? And we rooted for them. But how do you root for people that don't give a crap about the school, that just want to jump to the NBA? Right. How do you do that?
Well, they're taking money out of this school, aren't they? Taking resources?
I've sent out emails repeatedly, and I sent it to the Duke administration. Fire Krzyzewski if he doesn't change this. You're behind it. In my opinion, what's the prestige of having professionals play basketball at Duke University when, in fact, they shouldn't be there in the first place?
And they don't enrich the university and everything like that. It's tough, Larry.
This is the culture, okay? And this is why the people of faith, conservatives, libertarians, people who love this country need to rise up now, as our founding fathers in the colonies did. We need to re-educate. That's why my book is so important. Other people that write books, most of the books that are written, of late were just, these are the horror stories of the last 4 years. Hannity, his monologue, vote for Donald Trump. Well, that's not the answer, okay? See, it's not the answer. We want the president to be president, but it's for us to turn this country around. It's for we, the people, to wage a peaceful and legal revolution. And even if Trump wins, which is extremely unlikely now, he's only there for 4 years. What do you do after that? Right. This radical left is growing and growing and growing. In the late 50s, we thought that communism was on the rise. Well, now it's here.
Yeah.
It's here.
Well, Larry, let me share an analogy with you that I've said to a couple of people. There was a time 10, 15 years ago, I had a close family member in the hospital, very, very serious, very dire. It was clear, extremely likely, that this person could die. And if you asked any experienced doctor, they would say, prepare yourself for the extreme likelihood that this person may not leave the hospital. But rather than focus on that, I remained focused on the very small likelihood that this person would live, and luckily they did. So if I could shift the conversation, can we talk about what remaining legal possibilities there are, irrespective of how unlikely they might be? Where could this go? Supreme Court?
It's possible that the Supreme Court may accept a case involving Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania is not going to do it. Okay, so I say the odds of getting the court to do anything is zero. Getting a court solution here. It's not going to happen there.
Even at the Supreme Court?
Well, maybe for one state, but he's got to take back 4 or 5 states. Okay, that's the problem.
But they can't somehow establish that the whole election is invalid because of this widespread. I mean, it seems like Giuliani is going from state to state. We have a lot of testimony from credible people.
They won't do that. I mean, the opinion that they wrote in the year 2000, I participated in that election challenged by Gore versus Bush. I was actually in the trial with Judge Sanders Sauls, one of the really good judges. I can count them all on one hand in my 44-year career. That I later gave him an award at Judicial Watch. And the Supreme Court, when they wouldn't allow the recount in Florida in its decision, said never cite this case as precedent. They were just so sick of Clinton and so sick of Gore that they did what they thought they had to do. In this case, it's not one state, it's several states. And these people all go to the same parties in Washington. They want to be part of the same club. They don't want to be pariahs. And look what happened with John Roberts, okay, who most people think's a closet homosexual, okay? The guy is afraid. He's afraid of his shadow because he doesn't want to be outed. That's the problem. And maybe there are other skeletons they have on him, but he's become a leftist. So they have a very thin majority up there. And I just don't see it happening.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's a bigger question. Because I think a lot of people watching, myself included, we've seen this evidence. Obviously, it hasn't been through a trial, but I think a lot of people feel there was obstruction and interference with the election. As the President of the United States, if a foreign country, whether it's Canada or China or Spain or Germany, if the President has evidence that a foreign country has infiltrated and corrupted our election, isn't that an act of war? Isn't there something he can do? Like, I mean, they went and bombed Iraq. They invaded Haiti. How come he can't stop this?
He could, like we said, when the radicals were looting, burning, maiming, and killing, and they still are, but not. They think they've won for right now, so they took a time out. Okay, right. They'll be at it again. They'd be at it again. But the president could have invoked the Insurrection Act. He could have taken control. He could have ordered the police to clean out Seattle, to clean out Chicago, to clean out Philadelphia, to clean out all of them. He can do the same thing now. He can declare a state of emergency. He can do it. What does he have to lose?
Exactly.
Right now? That doesn't mean that he takes over as dictator, but lay it all out for the American people. Put it on the table. Here's the evidence that we have. Okay, here's the evidence that we need to get. He's got a little over a month and a half to do it. And if at the end he can't do it, then he packs up and goes to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, they're going to pursue him endlessly, pursue his kids. So we had William Barr, it's reported by CNN, at the White House for like 3 hours today. Was that to tell President Trump that he's appointed John Durham as a special counsel to continue investigating something that he's done nothing with for the whole time he's been investigating, or something else?
I was hoping that the president called him over there to fire him.
Me too.
Okay, but he may have been using the 3 hours to tell the president all the dirt that he has on the president and why he's not getting fired. So, or what's going on. We have this investigation here. We have this investigation here. You want to push too hard? Not a good idea, President.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt what you're saying, Larry. It's really upsetting to feel this, to be it's like looking at criminals breaking into your house, stealing everything, and the cops are right outside and they won't come in and you can't do anything and they're just looting the whole place.
Jason, I can say it over and over again, but we don't have a government anymore that represents the people. We don't. It's worse than 1776. Like I said, King George III was not a socialist, a communist. He was not a radical Muslim. He was not a radical, of any stripe. Okay, this guy, he just wanted to control the colonies and milk us of our wealth at the time. That was the whole idea.
I mean,
he was happy to keep us, pat us on the head and say, down boy, be nice, But what we have now are people that actually want to destroy us. They want to destroy the country, and to do that, they have to destroy the people that'll stand up to them. And if people don't see that, then they live in a different universe. It's clear.
Yeah,
it's clear.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of people, I talk all the time about social engineers. There's people who put comments and think, oh, this is just YouTube, but that's not true. I mean, these disputes that are arising out of this conversation that we're having, whether it's on YouTube or elsewhere in social media, are resulting in, people attacking you with the Barr Association, trying to attack your livelihood, trying to attack my livelihood. These are not little things.
Which is totally corrupt. The DC Bar is corrupt top to bottom. I mean, they all are ultra leftists, and you can look on FEC records and see and look at the articles that some of them have written. 4 ex-Bar presidents in DC brought a case against Barr for comments he made on Fox News. I don't even like Barr. Okay, but on that I'll defend him. Kellyanne Conway for comments she made on MSNBC. And it's just unbelievable. And so it's every institution that's out there, particularly in the nation's capital, is corrupt to the hill.
Larry, how can they allow the president of the Bar to be working for a law firm and acting as a lawyer himself? Well,
he's a so-called volunteer, I guess. I don't know. The whole system in D.C. is so screwed up. It's just unbelievable. I mean, cases that go on for decades and never get resolved, but when they do, they dig them out of storage if they want to try to get rid of you, that kind of thing. I'm speaking out. I will not roll over. I will not roll over. And there are some professional bars. The Florida Bar is professional. Texas Bar is professional. Others are professional. DC Bar is not. Okay, because it's part of that whole swamp there. And this is something which is a problem. And it's not just that. It's every institution of government is out to destroy. It's been inhabited by the left, and the left wants to destroy conservatives, people of faith, and others right now in Washington, D.C.
I know a lot of people watching, Larry, are curious to hear your opinion about the pardon of Michael Flynn, not so much the pardon itself, but the timing. Why do you suppose the president pardoned him when he did rather than waiting until January 19th or something?
He wanted to send a message. He knew that a Biden administration would go forward with the prosecution of Flynn and his guilty pleas.
But
and
he couldn't have waited 3 weeks or something? It seems like he's trying to free up Sidney Powell to work on something else.
And I think Sidney Powell asked him, she said, look, I'm standing in the stead for you. Why don't you stand in the stead for my client? There's nothing wrong with that. And
no, I'm not saying that there is.
I'm glad that General Flynn got a pardon. He made a couple mistakes. He should never have pled guilty twice. He should never have signed an agreement with Erdogan in Turkey, okay, a radical Muslim, while he was, at least thinking about or in fact part of the Trump campaign. That was a mistake. But he's a good man, and he was persecuted, and he should get a pardon.
Uh-huh. And has there been any official statement from Emmett Sullivan regarding this pardon? Have you heard?
No. Well, he has no choice. He has to dismiss the matter.
No, of course, in the face of a pardon. But I mean, I wonder if he might make any comments. I mean, it's certainly been extremely unusual, the case, particularly with Sullivan bringing in, his own special counsel and his own attorney. I mean, it's unprecedented.
Well, he will make some comments when they hold the hearing. I'm sure that he will make some comments at that time with the press there when he has to dismiss the indictment.
I see. I didn't realize there'd be a hearing. So how does that work? When the president pardons somebody, he still has to go back to court?
Well, the Justice Department will be going back to court and asking Sullivan to dismiss the indictments and to vacate the guilty pleas.
That's weird. And what if he says no?
You'll hear from Sullivan at that time.
Does he have any ability to say no? I mean, it certainly seems like Emmett Sullivan is rewriting the laws to do whatever the hell he wants.
Let me tell you what happened with my client and friend, Sheriff Arpaio. Okay, he gets a pardon from Trump, and these leftist hacks, one of them sat on a DC Barr committee with me and recommended that I be suspended for 33 months. Michael Tiger, an avowed communist. We've got pictures of him with Fidel Castro.
Right.
He was fired by Justice William Brennan for his subversive ties. He wrote a new book. I can show it to you. It's around here somewhere. Stoling the virtues.
You've got Dr. Mikovits' book back there.
Stoling the Virtues of Marx. Here it is. Mythologies of Monopoly Power. Okay. With endorsements of Bernardine Dorn, a domestic terrorist, and Angela Davis, one of the most infamous communists, okay? This is a guy that sits on a DC Barr disciplinary committee hearing with me, Larry Klayman.
Holy cow.
Right. So with regard to Arpaio, he had such a fixation with me, Tiger, that he intervenes before the Ninth Circuit when leftists are challenging whether Arpaio's pardon is valid. They wanted Arpaio to go to prison. Okay, that's what they wanted. So he had a conflict of interest. That's what he does. And that's the kind of thing that happens. They challenged Arpaio's pardon. I wouldn't be surprised if congressmen, like Gerald Nadler and Adam Schiff challenged the pardon here as well and say that it's invalid. But they have no basis to do that. They have none.
Has that ever happened, that a presidential pardon is overturned?
Never happened, no. It's never happened.
But they're trying to do it.
They don't care. It's all PR. PR for them. It's to rough people up, to make them look bad. And, in Arpaio's case, he was found liable for misdemeanor, and then the networks, CNN and Rolling Stone and Huffington Post, call him a convicted felon. Rolling Stone said he'd been put in prison. He hadn't been put in prison. I filed a lawsuit. It went before a judge that I thought would take action, Royce Lamberth, and Lamberth bailed out and wouldn't take action. And this is the world we live in today, is that, these judges, even the ones who at one point in time tried to do the right thing, are scared to do the right thing anymore. They think they have unbridled power. They think they get to decide cases and take them away from the jury. They get to decide what's plausible and what's not. The jury system's been trashed by these federal judges. In 244 years, only 8 judges have been impeached. That's like 1 out of every 31 years. And this is what my book is about. So figuratively speaking, one of the chapters says, when the revolution breaks out, the first of the guillotine should be the federal judges. Because as Jefferson said, as unelected judges, he was against Article 3. He did not want federal judges. My book is dedicated to Jefferson. You can see his picture right there. Jefferson, in my view, was our greatest founding father, our most farsighted. Okay, he was a philosopher, he was a farmer, he was a lawyer, he was a politician, he was an architect. Okay, these people were brilliant. And Jefferson said, is that because we will have unelected judges on the bench, not accountable to the people, they will become despots and tyrants. And every 20 years or so, we will have to wage revolution. And he added, what's a few thousand dead to refresh the tree of liberty? And Jefferson didn't want to see that happen. He was an architect of the French Revolution as well. When he wasn't dating French women, he was helping inspire to start a revolution in France as well. And he saw the results of that, the bloody nature of it, and how it got out of control. And he didn't want it to happen here. So he said, but judges are going to be our biggest enemy, federal judges. And they've turned out to be that way.
Yeah. Too much power, too permanent of a position. I mean, even just attending hearings or other people's trials, it's there is no check and balance against a federal judge's power to do basically whatever the hell they want.
That's right. And there's no lawyer in this country that will tell it straight up like me. I'll probably pay a price, Jason. I will. They retaliate.
You're already paying a price.
Yeah, they retaliate. But if I have to be a lawyer and not tell what I really believe, how corrupt the profession is, as I've said many times, I said it in my book, I'd rather flip hamburgers at McDonald's. I'm serious. Okay. What's more important now than court cases is educating the American people at how corrupt our government is. It's not even a government anymore. It's a deep state on both sides of the political aisle that has broken away from the American people, that serves its own interests at the expense of the American people. And when a gross injustice occurs, like just happened in this election, they look for their own self-preservation before they will look to preserve the republic. And that's not what we saw with our founding fathers. They risked their lives, they pledged their honor, and they were willing to give up their fortunes to form a new nation. And, again, if there was an NSA at that time, they would have been picked up, arrested, and executed before they got to Philadelphia. Yeah. But they were willing to risk it all because they believed in principles. How many people in this country believe in principles anymore? Very few. And,
Sadly,
they're my supporters at Freedom Watch and elsewhere. But you know what? They got to get up off the couch. They got to stop being entertained. That's the subtitle of the book. It takes a revolution. Forget the scandal industry. Turn off people like Hannity. They just deceive you every day that something's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Major breaking developments. Here's the news, right? Hannity, every single night. I can't take it anymore. Nobody that I know can take it anymore because it's bullshit. Okay. It's meant to increase ratings, to get ad dollars, okay, to increase your salary. And I talk about that in the book too, Fox News. I mean, here's a guy who claims he's a family man, and he's been secretly, with Ainsley Earhart now for several years. And, there's nothing wrong getting divorced. I've been divorced myself. If things don't work, you get divorced, but don't pretend that you're something you're not.
Yeah.
Don't say you're a conservative and get HUD loans, housing urban development loans, to buy low-income housing in Atlanta and then throw black people and others out of because they didn't pay the rent. You're using government money to do that, taxpayer money, and you claim you're a conservative? Hannity's a slumlord. That's what he is. So, start being discerning about what you're watching on TV and just turn it off. Yeah. Turn it off.
Now, just getting back to something that you said a minute ago, Larry, educating the public. That's super important, and it's a major component of the Citizens Grand Jury that you and I did, during which you indicted Robert Mueller. And there's a lot that we can learn from doing this process, even if it doesn't have the effect that we ultimately want of putting these people behind bars. It helps people to understand the legal process, the grand jury process, and it just gets people more involved in a way that's kind of a grassroots, ground level kind of approach.
We're going to talk about that on Friday on one of your shows, Jason, the right of citizen arrest. In California, the most leftist state, there's a statute that says that if you know of someone who's committing a felony or observe it, that you can arrest them yourself and turn them over to law enforcement. The problem is that we don't have any law enforcement that will enforce a citizen's arrest. But it is legal. It is legal in this country. And I would say under the law of God, it's legal to even use force if you have to. But I'm not advocating that.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating. I don't want to get people, in difficulty here. But yes, it may come to that. Suppose, for instance, we indict Biden, and his son Hunter. And suppose, millions of people go in front of the White House and say, time to leave. Time to leave.
Get millions of bullets that they'll shoot at us.
Right. But isn't that what happened in Poland, even though it was kind of a fraud in Poland in a way? Millions of people came together and they forced the Soviets out of Poland. It wasn't violent. Now, the problem was the people that came in to control Poland after the fact were just converted communists. So the communists now kind of underground in Poland. Okay, I've there's a really fine young guy named Ivan Belastenko, who I've been on a show in Poland a lot. I'm a quarter Polish myself. And, Ivan's a very courageous guy. And he said this thing on my radio show last week, is that, Poland is still basically a communist country because it just flipped. That's all. But they did drive the Soviets out. And now we got to be prepared to take control of our own government. Suppose, Jason, here's the Declaration of Independence. Declaration of Independence says, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not as eloquent as Thomas Jefferson, is that when the government breaks away from the people and the bonds are broken, that we have a God-given right to alter or abolish that form of government and to create a new government by and for the people. We have a right to do that, a God-given right to do that. And let's say hypothetically, is that people rise up and they say, we don't recognize this government anymore. We're going to form our own government, just like our founding fathers did. Suppose they say, we're going to take it back to Philadelphia. We're going to put the Supreme Court where it began, in Independence Hall with the Congress. Suppose we even say we want Donald Trump to be our new president. That's legal under our history and our document. It's legal. And we are at that point right now. And I'm not advocating violence. I make it always clear. I don't want violence. I don't want people to get hurt. But we have that right. And right now, we're on the cusp of having to use that right.
Yeah.
Just you have the thing in front of you. My eyes aren't so good, but read the beginning of the Declaration of Independence. It's the most moving document, short of the Bible.
In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
And then it goes down.
Language.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're being denied all of those things now, Larry.
Yeah, and then read the next line.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to those ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Yeah, isn't that, these are the most beautiful words ever written, in my opinion. And, it's so moving that, and this is our right, this is our God-given right. We don't have to put up with this shit anymore, excuse the language. We don't.
Yeah.
And that's what my book's about, peacefully and legal.
Yeah.
Let's rise up.
Our audience is observing that there seems to be an unhappy constituent somewhere in the background there. So I know you're running out of time, Larry. We've covered a lot. Is there anything else that you wanted to speak about?
No, I just want people to read my book. It is the culmination. It's not like my first book, Horrors, Why and How I Came to Fight the Establishment. That was my autobiography. This book is not about me. I'm not pounding my chest. I'm not doing like my former group does, another Judicial Watch victory. You can have all the documents you want. The government, of course, resists that. You get them, and then you ask the government to do the work of the people. Nothing happens. Yeah. I plainly admit in the book, Jason, I have not accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I just scratched the surface. And I'm saying the legal system is not the solution. It's the problem. And we, the people, need to rise up to do it. So this is not in my self-interest to say these things. Right. But I say it because I believe it to be true. These truths are self-evident. And somebody has to say them. And I don't know of anybody else that will say them right now. I hope people will join me and say them who are in some position of authority.
Yeah.
See, I'm not.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we're sort of, people are without words right now, Larry. I commend you for speaking out like this. And, you know, I'm here to support you and the team at Freedom Watch. Viewers who want to help can go to freedomwatchusa.org, make a financial contribution of their choice. But as Larry has told us many times, there really are no other lawyers that do what you, Larry, and your group at Freedom Watch are doing. And you don't, taking on the most powerful criminals in the world doesn't win you a lot of friends. It is a difficult thing to do. And, you know, you need the support of our viewers and people who want justice in Washington, D.C. And
we have a new group with Sheriff Arpaio, America's Sheriff, to protect and defend the police. You know, whether you like me or not, okay, for whatever reason, these truths are self-evident. You think about it, people out there, and you decide what the state of this country is today. And then you rise up and you do your part in trying to change it, not by watching TV and being entertained, but by actually doing something and taking risks, because you have to take risks. You do it, you know, with God's guidance and grace. You don't hurt anybody. You know, you don't do to others that you wouldn't want to do to yourself. But yes, we have to rise up. The millions need to rise up, and we need to tell the government, the so-called government, your time is up, guys. It's over.
Yeah.
And the president can do that right now, and he better do it, or he's gone.
Yeah, and it's going to be bad for all of us as well. The new book is It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry. People can get it on Amazon.com. And this is good to know. If people don't yet have an Audible account, simply signing up for an Audible account, you're going to get a free book. So you could actually listen to Larry's book for free with an Audible account if you sign up on Amazon.com. I'm not promoting Amazon, but I just noticed that, and it's a good way for people to hear the book and for Larry's message to get out.
For better or worse, Amazon really is the only major bookseller today, so you have to say that. There is a little trailer of the audio there that you can listen to, which gives you a preview of what I'm going to say. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, did you record the book, the audio book?
I did.
Oh, that's great. So people
did
can
it all in one day. I mean, it's not easy to talk for 7 hours for a day.
Unbelievable. Larry, you are the hardest working man in the law business. So I do hope that our viewers will support you and your team at freedomwatchusa.org. I also want to remind people that I can't produce this show and bring it to you without your support and sponsorship. As Larry and I have been saying, there are a lot of people aligned to try to destroy this show, to try to destroy me. They want to get an injunction to prevent me from even being able to be on YouTube. So it's really important, more than ever, for people to support the show by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Larry will join us again on Friday with John Cullen, and we're going to talk specifically about the laws surrounding citizens' arrests. Larry, I look forward to speaking to you again.
Same to Jason. Let me say something about you too.
Sure.
Of all the people I know, you are the most honest, if not one of the most honest people that I know. You're loyal. You don't back down. And you're a treasure to this country, and people need to understand that. And I hope that they will support Crowdsource the Truth.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that.